Greetings and salutations, my excellent friends. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Now, I recently got a question from Sophie who asked a number of different things regarding North Korea, so I thought I'd take a little time to answer her questions. Now, she says, firstly, where do you see North Korea heading in the next few years? Will they fall? Will there be an Arab Spring? Why or why not? So, in the next few years, I pretty much think that North Korea is going to continue pretty much as it has for the past, 50 years, 50, 60 years. I really don't see a lot of change really in the way that North Korea is going to conduct itself. It's worked in the past. It's continuing to work. Kim Jong-un has backpedaled a little bit off of his stances from earlier this year because he I think, finally realized that he took it so close to the line where China had to intervene and say, look, you're destabilizing the region. You need to back off. Now, will they fall? That is a good question. I think Kim Jong-un and others in North Korea have a really good handle on the situation in terms of controlling the country. I don't think there's going to be a widespread uprising from the people, mainly for a couple of different reasons. Number one, if we are to believe that North Korea is suffering from a food shortage problem, those that are outside of the military who don't have access to the food really wouldn't be able to sustain a long fight. Those in the military have the weapons, they have the food, and probably are living better off than those not in the military. So I think they'd want to maintain the status quo. Now, that's not to say that something could happen within the governmental structure and you could see a military coup take place. There have been rumors of things that have ultimately not turned out to be true over the past year or so along those lines. So again, I just think that it's going to maintain the way it is. I think he was approaching the West and a lot of the regional parties much like a teacher does in a classroom. It's easier to come on really, really strong and be very, very strict, say a lot of things, do a lot of things, show your might, and then back off in the long run. It's very difficult to say, hey, I'm going to be this kind of laid back individual and then try to be serious later on. So that's what I think is happening in North Korea now and in the future. Secondly, do you see them actually following through with any of their threats? To be perfectly honest, it really depends on what the threat is. Do I foresee them continuing to work on their nuclear program? Absolutely. There's really no incentive for them not to do that. Do I see them continuing to work on ballistic missiles and space flight and nuclear weapons? Absolutely. I don't think there's ever going to be a point that they stop doing that because the West has not found a suitable carrot for them. There's no reason, there's no incentive for them to stop that. Just saying that, oh, well, if you stop this, we're going to then negotiate with you. Well, they're able to succeed and grow and conduct business internationally without these things. So why stop? The only threats I wouldn't see them moving forward with, and you can use air quotes for threats, is starting a war. That's something that no one really wants, and I don't really think that a lot of the mainstream journalists in the West really understood that. It's really easy to harp on these words and these claims that North Korea is going to create a sea of fire and blood's going to rain down. But the reality of it, if they were to attack, there would be such a powerful counterattack from just about every other country in the region that the country itself of North Korea would cease to exist. North Korea would not be there anymore. And China has really shown that it wouldn't support that kind of action. So it would be going against the world by itself, and no dictator is ever going to start a situation that they're going to lose their country over. It's stupid. Do I continue thinking that they're going to have some kind of small strike against South Korea? Well, over the last 50, 60 years, we've seen that time and time again. The one thing to consider is, like I said and a lot of other folks said during the crisis earlier this year, was that Park Geun-hye has come out and said that she's going to order South Korea's military to really, really react strongly should there be a North Korean attack, much more than Lee Myung-bak did. And that's the consideration that North Korea has to make, because in the past the response from South Korea has been, well, fairly limited, and I don't think it's been enough of a response to deter further action from North Korea. So if there is attack from North Korea, Park Geun-hye would attack very vigorously in a countermeasure, and that could make some more fighting in the area. Who knows? But I do think that tensions run high, and they could maybe do something along the border with that. Finally, thirdly, do you think their new leaders are more Western or have a more Western perspective due to Kim Jong-un's education, and this could be an influencing factor in his decisions? That case could be made. I think the way that he's approaching his power position now is different than those who have assumed the role in the past. But we'll see what happens. It would be nice to think that his education and his exposure to the West would allow him to plan a greater future for North Korea. Ideally, what I would like to see is, North Korea and South Korea to have better relations, for North Korea to open up trade, much like China did. Keep Kim Jong-un in place and have North Korea be North Korea, but have better relations, have the ability to have families meet and mingle without having to set up special talks just to do that during Chuseok. So those are my thoughts. It was a great series of questions. I hope they helped you out. Again, those are my thoughts based on my experience here. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them to me. You can do so by sending an email message to questions@qiranger.com. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. Remember to be true to yourself and always be awesome.